Hi guys, it's Ginger. I am here with a music review. Before I get started on this new music review, I want to remind everybody that today, the day that this posts, which is Tuesday, at midnight, the music giveaway ends. So there will be a link to that in the description area below. If I can get that out. I am worn slap out. I am tired. I was on nights for a week and a half, and now I'm back on days. I went back on days in the middle of last week, and I'm still trying to catch up on my sleep. Alright, so today, or this week's, music review is for Brent Cobb, Shine On Rainy Day. I heard about this album because I follow Chris Stapleton on Instagram, and he posted this album cover on his Instagram and was like, buy it, listen to it, now, run fast. So I was like, you know, I really like Chris Stapleton, so he probably wouldn't steer me wrong. So I picked it up. And this is Brent Cobb's first, well, this is his, what do they call it? His major record label debut. There we go. Anyway, he apparently has been a songwriter who's been kicking around Nashville for several years now. And it's got 10 cuts on here. This is right up there, in my opinion, with Chris Stapleton Traveler album, which was dang near perfect. So I really like this one too. Really. Listen, there's a song on here called South of Atlanta. It's song number 2, and it brought tears to my eyes. Here's some adjectives for you, or some descriptions for you. This album is melancholy, lamenting, yearning. There's some tongue-in-cheek stuff in here. Brent Cobb is from Georgia. So basically, South of Atlanta talks about, I actually read a little thing in his biography saying that this song was inspired by his family trips to Cleveland, Ohio every Christmas, and he just could not wait to get back home to Georgia. So it talks about it. If you grew up in a small town or in a rural town, you'll understand a lot of this, but it really, being somebody who's from the South, somebody who has deep roots in the South, that song really hit home for me in terms of, not that I grew up in a town as small as this one that he describes, but I have relatives who I was very close to, like my great-grandmother, who lived in a very small town, okay? My great-uncle owned a gas station in a small town, a full-service gas station. So he talks about it's a place where people wave, things are slower, that there's still a gas station that's full service, and I know a lot of you probably don't remember full service stations, but I do. And there's one particular line in here, and unfortunately in the liner notes they don't have the lyrics, but it talks about how every Sunday people bow their heads and they're thankful for snap peas and skillet cornbread. And I was just like, oh, yes. Yes. It was so many things that feels like something from my youth. A lot of these songs feel like something from my youth. It's really rural, country driven, because this is a country album, but this is in the vein of Merle Haggard, Chris Christopherson, people like that. His voice, actually, there's something about his voice. He has a very clearly from Georgia in his singing voice, clearly a Southerner in his singing voice. There's also something in his voice. I don't know if it's how he phrases the lyrics, or just a tone that's in his voice, or something. An inflection. I don't know, but there's something in his voice that reminds me of Paul Simon. That's just me. You'd have to listen to it and let me know if you agree, or if you hear something else. So, I love this whole album. This whole album. Some of my favorites are South of Atlanta, Solving Problems, which is the first song, and it actually, he's talking about sitting and talking with a friend in Nashville, talking about back home, talking about music, talking about opinions specific to Music Row, but just the way he talks about it, you know, it's like, we're not doing anything, we're just sitting here solving the world's problems. Kind of reminds me of my dad and his next door neighbor. They're both retired, and they sit out on the front porch every morning during the week and drink coffee and talk about things going on in the world. Then the tongue-in-cheek one is Digging Holes, where he talks about, basically he's having love problems, he's having relationship problems, and he's like, I should have a job in the cemetery because I'm good at digging holes. You know, I should have a job on the railroad because I'm good at leaving town. So, and then another one called Shine On Rainy Day is really awesome too. And I loved Down in the Gully. Down in the Gully. It's the 9th track on here. I love that. I was listening to it. I was like, ooh, this sounds good. He's talking about running pipe from the river up. And then he was like, we're doing it all for Grandpa's sour mash. And I was like, oh my God. They're talking about moonshine. They're talking about building a still. A moonshine still. I really, really enjoyed this album. I hope I made sense because I'm really tired. But I love this album. This was a great recommendation. You can thank Chris Stapleton for recommending this on his Instagram. So, check it out if you like. I mean, this is mellow stuff. Mellow stuff, okay? It's not, pardon my language, but I'm going to be truthful right here. It's not some of the shit that they play on radio right now, country radio. This is, he's like Chris Stapleton, and he's one of the guys who's been writing the songs. The songs probably that you really like from some of these people that they play on mainstream country radio. He's probably written the song. So, but he's the real deal. So, pick this up. Brent Cobb, Shine On Rainy Day. I love this. I love this this cover too. It reminds me of something from the 70s. And it's not just because he's got long hair, but how it looks. It's kind of got that sepia feel to it with everything right on the front cover like they used to do back in the 60s and the 70s. Let me open it up and show you too. There's some photography in here. One of them's taken in the town that he's from. It's called Ellaville, Georgia. And they got a picture right here. And then there's all kinds of pictures, which I could only assume were taken in that town. All kinds of pictures. I love these kind of pictures. I've even considered going around and taking pictures of abandoned buildings. Because like there's this one that looks like it's either an abandoned house or an abandoned church. Probably a church. Abandoned barns. Here's an abandoned house right there. And I've always thought of just, and here's a barn right here, right there, an old abandoned barn. And I've got a picture of an old abandoned barn down in down the street, but the road, the dirt road where my great grandmother used to live. Because I always loved that barn, and I took a picture of it. It was after she died. It was after she died. Because things started changing so much out there. I was afraid they was going to tear it down. And I think they eventually did. But I have a picture of it. So give this a thumbs up if you enjoyed this review of the new Brent Cobb album. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And you can enter the giveaway. All you have to do is subscribe to enter the giveaway. So check that out, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. It's not the greatest print of it, because it was when I got my first printer that would print photographs. But there it is right there. There it is. It hangs on my refrigerator. But I love stuff like this. Just an old abandoned barn. It's probably a hay barn or something. I don't know. It had been there forever. So...